The nation of Israel is many things to many people. A new art exhibit on display about an hour north of New York City called Israel, the Compromised Land explores some of these complexities.
All of the work is socially and politically engaged. These are artists who, for the most part, live in Israel, are commenting in some ways on life in their country, but the perspectives are there are multiple perspectives.
The origins of the project were a curatorial research trip to Israel that Posner took 3 years ago, sponsored by the Israeli organization Artists. Despite being very well versed in contemporary art, she had little experience with Israeli art and was impressed with the depth of the work coming out of the country.
So the artists are, proud of being Israeli, are committed to their country, but also are voicing critiques of things that have happened. Obviously, the history of Israel has been extremely tumultuous over the last 60 years, a history of war and conflict and terrorism and internal and external forces. And so the artists are reflecting these facts in their works.
The stress of living under the constant threat of violence and the relationship between Jews and Arabs are themes that reoccur throughout much of the work. While most of the artists are Jewish, it also includes some work from Israeli Arabs.
The title obviously plays on the idea of the promised land. We've chosen to call the show The Compromised Land. So it deals with a sense of disillusionment that's occurred over the last 2 generations with the situation in Israel.
In one piece, a video camera rolls for 45 minutes showing Palestinian men crossing the border into Israel to work.
You'll see they're all middle-aged men or older because young men are not given work permits. And if you watch it over time, it just seems like a stream of humanity, but an anonymous stream of people.
While the subject matter may be edgy for some, she says the work has been generally well received.
Each of the artists is doing his or her own thing. They're not spokesmen for the country, but expressing their own points of view. But in the process, presenting a picture of Israel, contemporary Israel, that I think is very interesting and opened my eyes much more to the history and the contemporary reality of the country.
The exhibit runs through the end of November. This is Ira Spitzer for Jan 1 in New York.